I hope you've all had a good week and were able to get through assignment 1 successfully. Um, this week we're going to look at assignment 2. It is due February 1st by 11 p.m. There are some notes posted at the top. I've just created a new video for it, posted here, and it's also posted a little bit further down. Again, when you're done, we will want to submit that URL. But assignment 2, I covered this a little bit in this video, but I'll go ahead and cover it again. We are going to look at a post versus a get and sending information between pages. So for information out of a form to get from this page to the second page, has to get there somehow. The most common ways are through a post or a get. A post is sent in the HTTP header. It is not seen by the user. A get is sent as a query string, which starts with a question mark and then followed by name equal value pairs up here in the URL in the address bar. And so it is seen. You can look up there and you can see what the name equal value pairs are. So that's the primary difference between those two. We will use post most of the time, and we'll use post in this assignment. So you'll create 6 pages here. This page you'll never see in the browser. You pass through this page. It is entirely PHP. It is processing. So you submit login and password. It gets processed here, and based on the login and password you enter, it sends you to one of these 4 pages. And that is the basis for this little assignment. The idea is to give you some exposure to PHP, your first exposure to it. We'll talk about the PHP delimiters, so opening and closing PHP content and interspersing that with HTML. How to create a PHP variable. Those start with a $sign, so we'll do a couple of those in this assignment. Using the echo statement in PHP, echo allows you to write things out to the browser. Echo is incredibly helpful in debugging and just trying to see what a variable value happens to be at a certain time. So we use echo in this assignment. The login page, we go through 3 different iterations of if, else. We start with the longhand and we shorten it up a little bit, and then we shorten it up a little bit more. So refresher on if statements there. We also do header location redirects. So once we get to this login page, that PHP header location redirect sends us to one of these other pages, and we will use that throughout the semester. But basically there's a link to a finished solution there. This basically outlines a lot of what I've talked about and what I talk about at the beginning of the other video. And you've got several items down here that you can look at. Some PDF documents here for notes. The code as images to look at. And the images, you don't necessarily have to use these images. You could pick 3 others if you want. But some images, the images that I use, provided there as well. When you're done, you'll need to upload that to your server space. So the ECNIIS dev, that web server space, and then once it is uploaded there, actually you'll want to work pretty much directly off of that server space, so that when you save it, it's saved and you can load it in the browser and test it immediately. And all of that is in this video as well. That's how I go about saving and testing, and you should try to follow the same process. This is server-side coding, which means that the web server has to evaluate it before it gets to the web browser. So you cannot, I repeat, you cannot drag and drop a PHP into a web browser. It's not going to work. You cannot load it somehow locally into your web browser. It's not going to work. If you ever think that you are loading a PHP into your web browser and you actually see some of the PHP code appear, then that is because you are pointing to it locally and you are not pointing to it on the server. So this URL submission is meant to actually help you understand that you have to use the URL but it's also to help me because it helps me in being able to very quickly get to your assignment and be able to look at it. So that's about it for this assignment for this week. So do work through it, work hard on it. I've given you, a video that goes through it and images of the code and a look at the finished solution there. We've talked through some of the items that you're going to be learning as you go through this assignment, learning more about the PHP delimiters and variables and 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 so on. One thing I should mention is that the file extension is different. The file extension is a .php, so you may be used to a .html. So in this class, your file extension will be a .php, and again, those .phps need to reside on a web server. ECNIIS dev is our web server, and they get evaluated on the server before getting passed back to this here, the web browser for the client side to evaluate. So that is all for now, and I look forward to having a good week. Hope you have a good week, and I will talk to you again soon.